David was a failure in every sense of the word. At the age of 30, he drifted through life, living in a cramped apartment with no clear direction. His job was unstable and every workday felt like an endless wait for the clock to hit quitting time. Any attempt at career advancement had crumbled due to his irresponsibility and lack of discipline. His relationships were falling apart. Friends distanced themselves, tired of his constant negativity and complaints. His girlfriend left, fed up with his lack of ambition. His family, once supportive, had lost hope in him. David often wandered the streets alone late at night, drowning his thoughts in alcohol, trying to escape reality. But no matter how hard he tried to run, the emptiness inside him remained. He had always believed that happiness came from money, success, or love, but no matter how desperately he tried to grasp them, they always slipped away. Then came the breaking point. He was fired from his job due to his negligence, and his dwindling bank account was no longer enough to cover his expenses. With no one left to turn to, no purpose to hold on to, he finally realized how lost he truly was. In his darkest moment he asked himself, "Where did I go wrong? What do I truly want in life?" After being fired, David could no longer afford to pay his rent. At first he borrowed money from old friends, but over time they stopped helping. No one wanted to keep throwing money at someone who had already given up on himself. One rainy night, he returned to his apartment only to find an eviction notice taped to the door. His landlord had given him too many chances, but now patience had run out. He packed a few worn-out clothes into a torn bag and wandered into the darkness, with no place to go. Desperate, he went to an old college friend's house, hoping to crash there for a few nights. But when his friend opened the door, he hesitated. "David, I think you need to figure things out on your own. I can't keep helping you." The door shut in his face. For the first time, David realized he was truly alone. With nowhere left to turn, he spent nights sleeping on park benches, using his ragged coat to shield himself from the cold. Hunger gnawed at his insides, and his pride shattered the moment he found himself rummaging through garbage bins for leftover food. One night, a group of drunken young men laughed at him and shoved him into a puddle of filthy water. Humiliated and broken, he wondered if there was any point in continuing to live. Standing on a high bridge, he stared down at the deep, dark river below. His hands gripped the railing tightly, his mind clouded with despair. If life was nothing but failure and pain, why keep going? Just then an old, gentle voice spoke behind him. You've spent your life chasing things outside of yourself, but have you ever truly looked within? David turned around to see an elderly monk, his eyes kind yet filled with a wisdom that seemed to pierce through all of David's suffering. At that moment, something inside him broke, and for the first time in years he allowed himself to cry. The monk smiled, handed him a warm cup of tea, and invited him to a small temple on a nearby hill. With nothing left to lose, David followed. He had no idea that this moment would become the gateway to an entirely new life, a journey to rediscover himself. David followed the old monk to a small temple on a hilltop. It was a quiet place, no honking cars, no dazzling city lights, only the sounds of birds and the rustling of leaves in the wind. His heart was still heavy with pain, and he wasn't sure if this place could help him. But at this point he had nothing left to lose. The old monk did not pressure David to do anything. He simply handed him a simple cloth robe, showed him to a small bed in a plain room and said, "Stay as long as you wish. When your mind is ready, the answers will come." At first, David only observed. He saw the monks waking up at dawn, meditating in silence, doing chores, eating simple meals, and always maintaining a sense of calm and peace. No one complained, no one seemed bored or dissatisfied. He grew curious, how could they be so at peace? Gradually, the old monk introduced him to the Noble Eightfold Path, 8 principles that could lead a person to true happiness and enlightenment. #1. Right view, changing his perception. One morning, as David was sweeping leaves in the temple courtyard, the monk approached him and asked, "Do you see yourself as a failure?" David nodded bitterly. "My entire life has been one failure after another. I lost my job, my relationship, and the trust of my family and friends." The monk smiled and said, "Are you sure failure is a bad thing? If you hadn't lost all of that, would you be here learning and growing?" For the first time, David realized that failure was not an end, but a lesson. He began to see things differently, not as unfair suffering but as opportunities for growth. #2. Right intention, purifying his mind. David had always been consumed by negative thoughts, blaming fate, envying others, and punishing himself for his past mistakes. The monk advised him. Observe your thoughts as if watching clouds pass by. Don't hold on to them and don't let them control you. Each day David practiced sitting in silence, observing his thoughts without reacting to them. At first, his mind was still filled with worry and regret. But over time he learned to let go. Instead of hating himself, he started cultivating self-compassion. #3. Right speech, words shape reality. David used to complain a lot and speak harshly to others. In the city, he had hurt many people with his words out of frustration and bitterness. One day while eating lunch at the temple, David accidentally spilled his bowl of rice. He muttered, I'm such a clumsy fool. I always ruin everything. The monk overheard and gently said, Do you realize that the words you speak shape your reality? If you keep calling yourself a failure, you will always feel like one. From that day on, David became more mindful of his words, not only toward others but also toward himself. He began speaking with kindness and positivity, and strangely, his mind started to feel clearer. #4. Right action, doing the right thing. David had once lived irresponsibly, always chasing personal gain without considering the consequences. At the temple he learned to do small tasks with sincerity, cleaning, cooking, and helping those in need. He realized that actions didn't have to be grand, they only needed to come from a place of kindness. For the first time he felt a sense of purpose, not from achieving personal success, but from simply contributing to something greater than himself. #5. Right livelihood, earning an honest living. David had taken jobs just for money, even when they made him feel empty inside. The monk advised him. Choose a job where you can contribute without losing your soul. After leaving the temple, David decided not to return to soulless jobs that drained him. Instead, he sought work that allowed him to help others, something he had never considered before. #6. Right effort, perseverance and growth. There were days when David wanted to give up. Change was not easy, and sometimes he found himself falling back into old habits. The monk reminded him. No one attains enlightenment overnight. Be patient, like water flowing over rocks, it will carve its own path over time. David learned an important lesson. Growth is not an instant transformation, it's a slow and steady journey. #7. Right mindfulness, living in the present moment. David realized that he had always been stuck in the past or anxious about the future. At the temple he learned to fully experience the present. When eating he focused on the taste of his food, when walking he felt each step. This practice made him understand that happiness is not a destination, but a way of experiencing life moment by moment. #8. Right concentration, finding inner peace. The monk told him. If you seek peace, learn to be still. David started meditating daily. At first, his mind was restless, but gradually he found a deep sense of calm. The worries that once controlled him lost their power. He no longer searched for happiness outside of himself, it had always been within him, waiting to be discovered. After months of practice, David stood on the hilltop, looking down at the distant city. He was no longer the same man who had arrived at the temple lost and broken. The things he once chased, money, success, love, were no longer his primary goals. He had found what truly mattered, himself. One early morning, David stood at the temple gate, gazing at the golden horizon. The city he once called home lay far below, shrouded in the soft mist of dawn. For the first time in his life he felt no fear of the future, no regret for the past. His heart was light, his mind clear. He had finally found peace. The monk approached him with a knowing smile. "You look different now," he said. David nodded. He no longer felt like the man who had arrived here months ago, angry, broken, and lost. He had spent days meditating, learning, and unlearning. Slowly, he had peeled away the layers of suffering he had built around himself. "Master," he asked, "is this what happiness truly feels like?" The monk chuckled. "Happiness is not something you feel, it is something you cultivate. What you have now is not temporary pleasure, but true happiness, one that does not depend on anything outside of you." David understood. The happiness he had once chased, money, love, success, had always been fragile. They could be taken away at any moment, leaving him empty again. But the peace he had now? It came from within. No failure, no heartbreak, no loss could take it away. Returning to the world. David knew he could not stay at the temple forever. The world outside was still waiting for him. But he was no longer afraid of it. How do I keep this peace when I leave? He asked. The monk smiled. Do not cling to the temple as a refuge. Carry the temple within you. David bowed deeply. He finally understood. Peace was not in a place but in the way he chose to live. With gratitude in his heart, he left the temple. The road ahead was uncertain, but he no longer needed certainty. He had the Eightfold Path as his guide, and that was enough. A new life. Returning to the city, David found a simple job, not one that paid the most but one that allowed him to help others. He repaired broken things just as he had repaired himself. His family and friends saw the change in him. He no longer spoke with anger, nor lived with desperation. He was kind, patient, and content. One day an old friend asked, David, you lost everything, yet you seem happier than ever. What's your secret? David simply smiled and said, I stopped searching for happiness outside of myself. I found it where it had always been, within. The journey continues. David's journey did not end there. True happiness is not a destination, it is a way of life. Each day he practiced mindfulness. Each day he walked the path of right thought, right action, and right intention. And no matter what life threw at him, he knew one thing for sure. He would never be lost again.